guys, it's Carolyn with Crafting with Wine. I have another 2-page 12 by 12 scrapbook album layout that I'm doing for my daughter's album. I got just so inspired when I was doing the Disney album for my friend that it inspired me to start doing more on the album for my daughter, that I am just so far behind on it, as I'm sure we all are. So let's get started. The background piece here is a navy blue 12 by 12 cardstock, and then the really light green layer is 11.5 by 11.5 piece of cardstock. And then I have my sand dunes. I think that's what they're called. And everything on this layout comes from Cricut Design Space or Cricut cartridges. And my sand layer is cut at 11.5 by 3.25 or 3 1/4. And it comes from the Luau cartridge. And I did the front layer of this sand layout in gold glitter that I'm using as a brown color, because gold goes brown very easily, don't you agree? So, I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to line it up to the bottom of my really pale green layer. Right there is where it's going to go, and I think the glitter paper looks so awesome. I'm just in love with the way it looked, and I decided to use a lot of glitter layers on this layout, so bear with me. I think they're going to come together very well. I have a photo mat that will hold a 4x6 photo, and the brown layer is cut at 6.5 by 4.5, and then the cream colored layer is 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, and all of my papers are embossed. And the paper, I didn't use an embossing folder because my cardstock itself was embossed, and that is what I'm using here. And I'm going to place it right about here. And get that lined up. I'm loving this layout. It took me about an hour and a half to cut all of these pieces out on my Cricut, and then paper piece them together. It went together super fast. I was amazed. When I'm doing a layout that I'm really excited about, it takes no time for me to paper piece together. Obviously, I have no control over the cutting of the layers. That takes what it takes. But I also didn't take anything for chance while I was cutting out this layout, because I used so much glitter paper, and I used a lot of already embossed paper as well. So I double cut every image. So even with double cutting, with everything, it still went together super fast. And my title is Joyride, and what you were kind of seeing me do there off screen was taking the foam tape or the backing tape off of my foam tape layer, and my title is Joyride, and my title is cut at 5.33 by 3.90, and it comes from the Baby Steps cartridge here on Cricut Design Space. And like I said, all of my images came from Cricut Design Space. My next image on the left side of my layout is my palace, and it is cut at 7.27 by 7.64 inches, and it comes from the Cricut cartridge Children Around the World. And I did glitter cardstock on this as well as regular cardstock, and I'm going to lay this down flat. I'm super excited about this layout. This is one that I am so far behind. I'm very far behind on all of my scrapbooking layout for my daughter. But as I've told you in the past, I don't go in order when I do my scrapbook layouts. I go by what photograph that I'm inspired by at the time, and then I just stack them all up. And then I will put them in order when I'm ready to put them in my album. I'm going to put it right there. Looking spectacular, don't you think? And then my next item are some fence posts, or I don't know the other name for them. And I created these myself. What I did, they're just little barriers. And the barriers, each one of them is cut at 0.82 inches wide by 3.84 inches high. The bottom part here is just a rectangle that I made, and the top part here comes from the ornamental iron cartridge on Cricut Design Space, and then I've layered it up. I put dimensional foam tape in between the tops of my fence post, and then I added some twine to them, and I'm going to lay these down flat with my twine in between. And I had several different types of ribbon and twine and so forth laid out, and I just chose the one that I thought matched my colors the best. And what I'm going to do is lay the first one down right here. I'm just lining up with the bottom of my layout, my sand layout. I'm going to lay that one right there, and I just attached the little string or twine with glue dots. And then my next image is an enter sign that I made with print and cut, and this is the only print and cut image on this layout, and I'm going to lay it down flat as well. And I'm going to lay it across my twine right about there. I think that looks pretty awesome so far, don't you? So let's move this one out of the way, and I'll bring in the right hand side of my page and the same background papers. And then I'm also going to use the same sand border layout that I cut the exact same way. Now I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of this and lay it down. And again, I'm going to line it up with the bottom of my very pale green layer. I used a lot of dark colors on this, and I wanted to use that pale green to just kind of make everything pop, was my plan. I have another 4x6 photo mat that is done exactly the same way as the other one. It's 6.5 by 4.5, which will hold a 4x6 photo, with the cream colored layer being 6.25 by 4.25. And I'm going to put it right about here, right in the center of my page. And then my next item that I want to include is another barrier of items, or of my fence. And I'm going to lay it down flat as well. And I did it the exact same way as I did the other two barriers on my other page. And I'm going to lay this one down first. And I'm going to make her as taut as I can. And there we go, there. So there's my little rope barrier. And this little cording that I use does look like rope. Now, my next image is a great big camel that I've cut out, and I did his little face in gold glitter paper, and then I did his covering for the ride in glitter paper as well, and then I also popped it up on dimensional foam tape. My camel is cut at 6.09 inches wide by 7.89 inches high, and this image also comes from the Cricut cartridge, Children Around the World cartridge. I love this cartridge. I don't use it very often, but I'm just so impressed with it when I do use it. It makes me happy. And I love camels. Camels are one of my all-time favorite animals. So let me pop. Oh, I went and put glue on his head. I don't want adhesive on his head because it's going to cover my photo mat. So I'm going to take my little embossing buddy here, and so I don't glue powder everywhere. I'm just going to move it off and just powder that really strongly. Probably didn't need to do it that strong, but I did. All over his head. That way I have no sticking where I don't want it to stick. Blow that off. And I'm going to put my camel right down here. If I can get that glue from sticking out. Right there's where he's going to go, and now you can see I can lift up the head very easily to pop my photograph behind. And what this image was when my daughter was maybe 2.5, we went to our local zoo and took a really cool camel ride, and they had it made up just as if you were in Egypt or somewhere like that in the Far East. And even the little guy or gal, I don't remember now which it was, that was conducting the rides and taking you on the rides, was even dressed up in that fashion, and they had it looking so spectacular, and I couldn't wait to do this. So I've done all of my images to reflect that, and I'm going to put my little guy right here, and he is laid down flat as well. Got some excess glue there. So this finishes this 2-page 12 by 12 scrapbook layout, all created in Design Space. So I hope you guys enjoy it and that you want to give it a try, and what a freaking spectacular joyride this was. Thanks for watching. I'll have all of the items that I used, or crafty supplies that I used, in the description box below with a link. And cheers!